with her, never to be seen again. "400 years later, we find ourselves on the waters of the Kaveri. The sound of our motorboat unsettling the pervasive calm. Our reason for being here was clear: to see for ourselves the consequences of Alamelama's curse. Had Talakad succumbed to sand? Had Malingi become a whirlpool? And had the Wodeyars, erstwhile rulers of Mysore, actually failed to beget sons?
Talakadu Maranagali.
We began our search from present-day Talakad, situated on the northern bank of the river Kaveri. A little further from here lay an area of about 10 square kilometers covered by sand dunes. Buried under the sand is the ancient city of Talakad. A city that was once upon a time the capital of great empires. The sand at Talakad seemed to appear out of nowhere. We saw temples scattered across the landscape, unearthed from beneath the dunes. Even today, the sand threatens to submerge them, an eerie reminder of what happened to the ancient city centuries ago. We were told that there are many more temples at Talakad, perhaps 30, that lie buried under this sea of sand. Could all this have happened because of Alamelama? Archaeological findings have actually fixed the sand formation to about the same time as the legend, 1600 AD. Professor Krishnamurthy from the University of Mysore, who was part of an excavation project at Talakad, described some of the findings.
See, in the course of the excavation at the southwestern corner of Talakad township, we encountered a very huge long wall, remains of a long wall. It is meant to protect the buildings that were existing at that particular point. It was not a fort wall, definitely. It was not even an enclosure wall, because it is incomplete. So it must have been built for a different purpose. Sand was the only threat, movement of sand was the only threat that the people faced at that time. So they built in a hurry a huge screen wall. See, the wall can be dated to post 17th century AD. We have got archaeological, in the sense stratigraphical evidence from the trench that after sand started falling over the township, this wall has been raised. In the formation of sand dunes, a definite evidence, clinching evidence, comes from another trench, where we have in the section a thin layer of fine airborne sand, and above that we have the building debris, in which we discovered a few Vijayanagara copper coins.
Was the period of Alamelama's legend and Talakad's predicament just a coincidence? Our curiosity was beginning to grow. We were eager to see for ourselves the second victim of Alamelama's curse, Malingi.
Malingi Maduagali.
We had to take a circuitous route to Malingi, which lies on the southern bank of the river Kaveri. It is said that Alamelama had drowned herself here, cursing that someday the village would become a swirling whirlpool. Looking at the erosion caused by the river at Malingi, it is obvious that people would never have chosen to live so dangerously close to the river. The river has moved closer to them, and it seems that the Kaveri will eventually drag Malingi into its churning waters. We discovered some interesting historical facts that gave us an indication of when the Kaveri might have become a threat to Malingi. 15th and 16th century inscriptions refer to two towns, Malingi and Chikka Malingi, Chikka meaning small. By the beginning of the 19th century, there is reference to Hosa Malingi, meaning New Malingi, and Tadi Malingi, meaning Malingi on the banks of the river. It was perhaps the movement of the river between the 16th and 18th centuries that submerged Chikka Malingi. The water level being low, we noticed a Veera Kallu, a stone slab laid to honour a dead soldier, lying in the riverbed. This would not have been placed in the path of the river. Could this be a remnant of Chikka Malingi? It seemed to us that as the river moved, Malingi became Tadi Malingi, Malingi on the banks of the river. With the growing threat of the river's movement, some people might have moved to a new Malingi, Hosa Malingi. All this happened between the 16th and 18th centuries. Alamelama has, without a doubt, left us with something to think about. The events at Talakad and Malingi happened uncannily close to the time of her curse. Would the third stanza of Alamelama's curse also reveal its vindictive consequences?
ಮೈಸೂರು ದೊರೆಗಳು ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಲ್ಲದೆ ಹೋಗಲಿ.
In the pages of Indian history, the Wodeyar dynasty is perhaps the only one that almost continuously remained in power for more than 6 centuries, spanning across medieval and modern times. The Wodeyars built, expanded, and consolidated their territory of Mysore from a small principality to a mighty and prosperous kingdom. Wodeyar rule ended with India's independence from the British in 1947. Before Alamelama's curse in 1610, the Wodeyar genealogy was almost unbroken. Succession was direct, from father to sons. Within just a few years after the curse, though, something ominous happened. Raja Wodeyar lost 3 of his 4 sons. After these mysterious and coincidental deaths, the grief-stricken Raja Wodeyar retired to the comfort of Lord Vishnu in Melkote. Raja Wodeyar died in 1617, 7 years after he had taken over Srirangapatnam. Succeeding his throne was Chamaraja V, Raja Wodeyar's grandson. But Chamaraja did not have a son to succeed him. Instead, he was succeeded by Raja Wodeyar's only surviving son, Imadi Raja. But after just 1 year in office, he was assassinated. With the death of Imadi, Raja Wodeyar's immediate bloodline ceased. From here, over the next 100 years, a broken sequence of succession in the Wodeyar dynasty followed, though it continued to remain in the line of direct descent succession passing to Raja Wodeyar's nephews and their children. Imadi Raja was succeeded by his cousin, Kantirava Narasaraja Wodeyar. Inscriptions mention that Kantirava had 183 wives, but only one son. Before the child reached the age of 6, it died. Kempa Raja succeeded the throne upon the death of his cousin. Under his reign, the Wodeyars threw off allegiance to the Vijayangar Empire and established an independent kingdom. But Kempa Raja, following in the unfortunate footsteps of his ancestors, also failed to have sons, leaving his nephew, Chikka Raja, to take over. For the next 3 generations, succession passed from father to son, the only exception to an otherwise broken Wodeyar genealogy. But even here there was something strange. Kantirava Narasaraja II, son of Chikka Raja, was deaf and mute. Kantirava bore one son,